In the beginning, when mankind began to multiply upon the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, the days were long and silent, and the earth was still young. Nature flourished yet. Wickedness had begun to take root in the human heart. It was a time before the time of judgment, an age forgotten by the ages, remembered in few verses, but because of its shadow, it was feared over all creation. In the days of Jared, the forefather of Noah, a marvelous event occurred in the heavens. And it came to pass that when men began to multiply upon the face of the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair, and they took wives for themselves from all whom they chose. The sons of God, guardians, mighty angels at first sent to watch over men, beheld with desire the daughters of the earth. Their leader Samjaza gathered others on a plain near Mount Hermon, where they swore an oath. There were 200 in all, and the decree was made with fear, for they knew the eternal consequences their choice would bring. I fear I alone may bear this burden, and that you will leave me to bear the guilt alone, said Samjaza hesitantly. But the others answered with one voice, we all swear together, and we curse ourselves mutually by this oath that we shall not return. They descended. The earth trembled as their feet touched it. Men looked upon them in wonder, for their forms shone with radiance unlike mortals. In a short time they took wives, taught them heavenly secrets, and begot children. But the children born of these unions were not ordinary men. They were creatures of extraordinary stature and strength, giants, fleshly beasts, and spirits. They were the Nephilim. In those days giants were upon the earth, and even afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of men and bore children by them. These were mighty men of old, men of renown. These giants devoured all around them. At first they hunted and fed on the fruits of the earth, but soon their hunger became insatiable. Against men, then against the very beasts they turned. Deformed creatures began to emerge, unclean mixtures between species. The watchers began to reveal hidden secrets formerly concealed. Azazel, one of the leaders, taught men the art of the sword. Shields, mirrors, the crafting of ornaments, and the painting of faces. Women learned to seduce by enchantments and adornments. Others taught astronomy, astrology, magic, and the use of herbs for sorcery. The earth was defiled, and God beheld it. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, because he is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. In heaven the silence of judgment fell among the faithful angels. The gates of heaven were closed, and the archangels were warned. The watchers had broken the sacred order. On earth men began to fear the creations of angels. The Nephilim, lords of the tribes, became as gods among mortals. Their voices sounded like thunder, and mountains shook beneath their feet. Blood flowed in the rivers, and corruption spread swifter than the wind. Nature began to rebel. The skies darkened. Birds migrated without direction. The earth exhaled a bitter scent, as if creation itself recognized that something was amiss. Something deep spiritual and fatal. Then God sent a messenger to man. He walked with him who worshiped neither giants nor fallen angels, a prophet forgotten by the world, but known in heaven. His name was Enoch. In silence he went forth into the midst of the chaos of cities ruled by the Nephilim, and spoke, you sons of heaven have forsaken the highest heavens and defiled the earth. The Most High will judge you. The mountains shall not hide your iniquity, nor shall the abyss protect you. And the day will come, the day when waters shall cover all things. The word of Enoch echoed through valleys and mountains. Few heard it, many mocked, but heaven prepared itself. The armies of God were summoned, and the watchers were judged. For the time of divine patience had begun to fail, and it was only the beginning. The plains that once were fertile now bore deep scars and desolate fields. Where vineyards and olive groves once flourished, stone cities rose built by giants with mighty arms. The Nephilim, offspring of fallen angels, reigned with tyranny. Their eyes burned like coals. Their voices caused hearts to tremble. They were strong, beautiful, but filled with pride, violence, and a hunger for power. All that they desired, they took for themselves. Men, women, beasts in the earth. Wherever they went, they commanded reverence, for no one could resist their might. Whole peoples began to worship them as gods. Altars were built in their honor. Sacrifices were offered. Praises were sung to names like O Arba Anak Gilgamesh. The memory of the Creator faded from the mouths of men. Men, women, beasts, and the earth itself Wherever they went, they commanded reverence, for no one could withstand their strength. Entire peoples began to worship them as gods. Altars were raised in their honor. Sacrifices were offered. Praises were sung to names such as O Arba, Enoch, Gilgamesh. The memory of the Creator began to fade from the lips of men. The Nephilim, proud in their lineage, allowed themselves to teach their own laws to the human tribes. A common war was waged. The lesser tribes were brought into bondage. Violence was exalted. Fierce battles among the giants became festivals. The city walls began to rise from human skulls, and the heavens were burdened with sorrow. Men corrupted by this new order began to imitate the giants. Cruelty multiplied. Women were taught enchantments by Tamil sorcery. Men bore bronze weapons and black swords as if the whole world were bewitched. Yet signs appeared everywhere. The sun seemed weakened. Times grew uncertain. Water sometimes turned red. Livestock fell ill. Trees withered prematurely. Deformed creatures appeared in the forests. Nature itself cried out, and God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupted, for all flesh had corrupted its way upon the earth. In the heavens, the faithful angels watched in silence. The throne of the Most High shone with justice. He wept among the celestial beings. Judgment was being prepared. But first there would be a final attempt at reconciliation. One last message. While watchers celebrated in stone palaces and giants adorned themselves with blood-red jewels upon the mountains, a righteous man walked through scorched fields, his words carried on the wind. Enoch, seventh after Adam, continued his journey. The crowds avoided him. Kings despised him, yet he ceased not to prophesy. In one of his visions, he was taken up into heaven. There, he saw what none dared recount. And returning, he wrote down his warnings. The mountains will tremble, stars will fall, the heavens will open, and the armies of the Lord will descend in glory. The giants shall be judged, and the angels who begat them will be cast into eternal abyss. Yet did the onlookers not laugh? They knew. The truth was, in his words, they feared the Most High. In despair, they begged Enoch to intercede for them. They brought him written words seeking mercy. They wished for their prayers to be carried to the Creator. Enoch received their petitions with sorrow. Again he was taken up, but the judgment was already sealed. He returned with eyes full of tears and a heavy heart. He beheld the fallen angels and said, "Peace shall not be given to you, your children. Nephilim shall be destroyed. You will bear witness to the ruin of all that you have created." Silence fell among the angels. For the first time, the watchers knew fear. Meanwhile, on earth, the giants continued ever to build higher towers, believing they could reach the heavens. But wisdom had forsaken them. Their bodies grew, but their souls decayed. They turned against one another. Battles arose among the giant clans. Each sought absolute dominion over the earth. Cities fell, valleys were filled with blood. The desperate tribes of men invoked any entity that promised salvation. Deceptive spirits wandered among men, teaching lies and promoting destruction. The world plunged into irrevocable chaos. And in this ruin, a certain new figure emerged in history. A simple man, not of great stature, without human glory, but with a pure heart and eyes still turned to the heavens. His name was Noah. While the Nephilim warred among themselves and cities collapsed under the weight of corruption, Noah walked with God. He was a righteous man in his generation. His hands tended the earth, but his heart remained fixed on heaven. Amidst the tumult, he cultivated silence, justice, and faith. Corruption had spread so widely that even animals became mixed. Monsters roamed the hills. The pure line of men was on the verge of vanishing. But God found in Noah the last spirit of fidelity and called him. One night, as Noah slept beneath the shade of an ancient fig tree, a light descended like a fire that does not consume. The glory of the Lord surrounded him, and he heard a voice. "The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make for yourself an ark of gopher wood." Noah's face grew pale, but he did not resist. He only nodded and began his labor. Meanwhile in heaven, the throne of the Almighty shone with radiant light. 4 archangels gathered before God, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel. Each was given a task. The patience of God had failed. The earth cried out for justice. The souls of the innocent cried from the dust. The time of judgment had come. Michael received command to act against the watchers. Raphael was to seize and cast them into the abyss of darkness. Gabriel was sent to incite war among the Nephilim so that they might destroy one another. Uriel would descend to proclaim the final judgment to the sons of the earth. On earth, Enoch was again lifted up. In heaven, he beheld halls of fire and rivers of light flowing from the throne of God. He saw open books, names inscribed, and those erased. A tear fell from his eyes. He descended and delivered his last prophecy to the watchers: no mercy shall be yours. You will be cast into the abyss. Your children shall perish, and the earth shall be cleansed, and a new beginning will arise from the destruction. Azel, the most wicked of the fallen angels, was the first to be judged. She had taught men to wage war, to create idols, to dishonor the body, and to bind the creation. Raphael found him in the mountains of Dudael. He bound him with fiery chains, dragging him over sharp rocks into a dark abyss. And there he was sent, sealed in darkness until the great day of judgment. Gabriel in turn visited the encampments of the Nephilim. He sowed distrust among them. The giants began to accuse one another. The nations that were once united became enemies. Wars among the children of the Watchers grew fiercer. This was the beginning of the end. Michael, the great prince of the armies of God, approached the Watchers, who still hid in caves and palaces. They were magnificent to behold, yet now they trembled before the presence of the servant of the Most High. One by one, bound in chains, they were cast into deep caves. And over these caves, burning stones were set, never to be removed. While the sky waged war, Noah was building. Day by day, the ark took shape. Its length was 300 cubits, its width 50, its height likewise. The ark was a floating refuge built with faith and sweat. He did not seek honor, but only obedience. Men mocked him. Noah, where is your God? Now why this great and mighty ark? Do you intend to sail in the desert? But Noah did not answer. He simply continued. Then God spoke again. Enter you and all your household into the ark, for I have found you just before me in this generation. 2 by 2, perfect pairs of animals began to enter. Birds flew above and descended. Reptiles crept. Cats, oxen, deer all obeyed the voice that was not heard by ears. It was the command of the Creator. Clouds formed winds, changed angels, withdrew the Watchers. Were sealed, the Nephilim were at war. And then came the 7th day. Noah entered the ark with his wife, his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. The door was closed, not by human hands, but by the hand of God, and silence was achieved. Dark clouds formed walls in the sky. Lightning tore the firmament in fury. Nature no longer whispered. Now it roared. Rivers began to flood. Winds swept across the mountains. Creation, like a mother in labor, writhed with deep groans. The time of mercy was ended. Inside the ark, Noah prayed silently. At first the wood cracked with thunder, but peace was upon his face, contrasting with the terror outside like a serpent. Outside, men ran seeking refuge in temples, invoking stone gods. None answered. The ark's door was sealed. Then a sound was heard, a crash coming from the depths of the earth. The great springs of the abyss burst forth. On that day, all the great springs of the abyss erupted, and the windows of heaven were opened. Water from the depths of the earth violently surged forth. Columns of liquid swept through cities. At the same time, heavy rains fell from the heavens like hail. These were no mere drops. This was liquid judgment. The Nephilim, though proud, did not understand at first. Some laughed, others grew angry. They climbed hills and the tallest towers, relying on their strength and stature. Yet the waters did not respect their height. Tirelessly, the flood rose. Gilgamesh, one of the greatest giants, roared against the heavens. O you who are on high, is this your vengeance, your punishment? Because we loved you, but the heavens gave no answer. The thunder was the only reply. Or the giant of the eastern mountains tried to swim. His arms cut through the waters like oars, but even he, with his full stature, found no firm ground. The whirlpool swallowed him. The cries were terrible. Men cried out. The Nephilim roared. The Watchers, bound in chains, heard from the depths of darkness the sounds of devastation they had wrought. In his prisons, Azazel howled. His eyes, once full of pride, were now blinded by darkness. The silence of the abyss was broken only by the groans of fallen angels. Feeling the weight of his rebellion, Noah, within the ark, amid the waves, sensed the keel. But his faith was steadfast. God was sailing with him. The rain continued for 40 days and 40 nights. The highest mountains were covered. No flesh survived, but the heavens too recorded all. In the heavenly books, the names of the Nephilim were erased by fire. Heaven celebrated justice. The stars shone again with renewed intensity. The scales were balanced. Wakanun. The submerged world all was silent. The earth was washed by the tears of judgment. The ark floated above the abyss. The waters covered all, as if the earth had been forgotten. But God remembered. Days passed. The wind blew. The waters gradually began to recede, and the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. Noah sent out a raven, then a dove. The time of waiting had come to an end. From above, Noah looked out through the ark's window and saw a transformed world. Nothing of the Nephilim's commands remained. No tower, no altar, no statue. The memory of the giants was buried in the mud of history's grave. Yet in the spiritual realm, something still stirred. Not all the resonant giants had fallen silent. In the dark regions, remnants of the corrupt seed awaited a new opportunity. The earth would bloom again, but the shadows still lurked. The earth was still moist when, at last, the ark came to rest. The waters had receded, revealing a bare world without cities, without cries, without corrupted altars. Noah opened the door and saw a clear horizon, as if creation itself were reborn after a painful birth. The first thing he did was to touch the earth and build an altar. No gold, no idols, only simple stones and grateful hearts. There, he offered sacrifices of pure animals, and the fragrance rose to heaven like incense of reconciliation. The Lord smelled the sweet savor and said within his heart, "Never again will I curse the earth because of man, for the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth." Then God sealed a new covenant, a promise. The sky was adorned with colors never before seen, a bow that touched the clouds and the mountains. It was more than refracted light. It was an eternal reminder. "I will set my bow in the clouds, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth." Noah and his sons began once more to till the land. Ham, Shem, and Japheth learned to sow, to build tents, and to care for the animals. Generations were born and multiplied. Entire peoples arose from the sons of Noah. Tongues were mingled, fields were divided. The earth endured now under the sign of promise. Yet in the silence of the newly born earth, the echoes of the past still whispered. Among the descendants of Ham, ancient tales began to be heard. Tales of giants, stories of creatures endowed with immense strength who somehow overcame great destruction or returned through a tainted inheritance. Scripture does not say how, but they arose again. Not with the same titanic splendor, yet imposing and threatening nonetheless. Peoples such as the Anakim, Rephaim, Emim, and Zamzumim began to occupy the lands. Their bodies were larger, their cries deeper, their swords heavy as tree trunks. The lineage of the Nephilim seemed to have left traces, seeds mingled among men. These tales began to spread through generations. In Bashan, a king sleeps in an iron bed 9 cubits long. In the land of Canaan dwell the sons of Anak. They are said to be the offspring of ancient giants. Their fortified cities reached toward the heavens. Messengers came like rumors, but they were repeated with terrifying precision. Names changed, yet the fear remained the same. The echo of rebellion returned to pursue the descendants of the righteous. Yet God had separated his people. The people born from Abraham, the seed of Shem, a people destined to journey the promised land and to face giants once more. But this was yet in days to come, for already the sons of Noah had spread abroad. The sons of Ham went south to Egypt, Canaan, and Nimrod. The sons of Japheth multiplied in the northern lands, and Shem preserved the seed of promise among his descendants, a line that would walk through the ages to the name of the Messiah. Even so, giants would rise again. One night Noah gazed upon the heavens. His face, now wrinkled still, held serenity. Beside him Shem approached, bearing a cup of wine. His father, looking at the stars, said, "They have returned." "No, you do not understand. Who my father, great in lesser flesh, but of the same spirit. The earth still groans." Noah rose slowly and pointed to the sky. Yet the promise remains. The heavenly bow, so long as it shines hope, endures even when darkness returns. Then he withdrew to his tent. The days of Noah were soon to end, but his legacy of music remained. The memory of the flood would pass through continents. Distant peoples would tell similar tales. From the Andes to the Himalayas, from the Hebrews to the Babylonians, all would speak of the flood and the giants who preceded the destruction. Noah died at the age of 950. He was buried among mountains far from future lands of battle. His children continued the story, and the giants, though weakened, continued to wander through the territories. They were like shadows without bodies, ancient whispers, shadows of error watching. But at times men rose with strength. Men who would oppose the giants not by Nephilim, might but by the faith of the prophets. And among them a young shepherd would arise. Time passed like the breath of ancient winds. Civilizations rose again from the ashes left by the flood. The sons of Noah multiplied, spreading through valleys and plains, and with them grew memories and fears. In the land of Canaan, tales circulated among the tribes of men of great stature, of impregnable walls of cities where the heavens themselves seemed to rest upon stone towers, they whispered. Among the inhabitants of that land were names bearing the weight of ancient curses: Anakites, Rephaim, Emim, Zamsumim, sons of shadows, offspring of forgotten times. It was in this plight that the people of Israel journeyed, led by the mighty hand of God, delivered from Egypt under Moses' command, crossing the desert with eyes fixed on the promised land. But before they could possess it, they had to face what awaited. Giants stood before them. When 12 scouts were sent by Moses to spy out Canaan, 10 returned filled with fear. The land is indeed good, but the men who dwell there are of great stature. We saw the son of Anchises there, offspring of the giants. And before our very eyes we appeared like locusts. The people wept. They were afraid. They wished to return to Egypt. But 2 men rose against the fear, Joshua and Caleb. Do not fear the people of this land, for we shall devour them like bread. The Lord is with us. Do not fear them. These words of faith thundered like a storm. The unbelieving generation in the desert perished, but the children of the faithful saw the fall of the giants. And so it was fulfilled. Under the leadership of Joshua, Israel crossed the Jordan, and soon the battles came. Cities were taken: Hebron, Debir, and Anab, fortresses of the Anakim. The giants fell by the sword of the faithful, yet the most fearful was still to come. In the land of Bashan reigned Og, the last of the Rephaim. His bed was iron, his body immense. His name made kings tremble, but not Joshua. Do not fear him, for I have delivered him into your hands. And so Og fell. Bashan was captured. Altars were destroyed, shadows of the past, torn by the light of obedience. Yet this was not the end. Among the Philistines, another name arose, a name to echo through the ages: Goliath, the champion. Of Gath, a man nearly 3 meters tall, shining in armor, arrogance in his eyes. For 40 days he challenged Israel before the valley of Achor. Choose a man from among you who will come against me. If he fights me and defeats me, we will be your servants. But if I overcome him, you will serve us. Israel was silent. Not even Saul dared to oppose him. But then from the ranks emerged a youth with a staff and 5 smooth stones in his pouch. His name was David, small in the eyes of the army, but a giant before God. The battlefield fell silent. On one side, Goliath, the Philistine champion, nearly 3 meters tall, clad in bronze and contempt. On the other, a shepherd without armor, armed only with faith. Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? The giant mocked, spitting to the ground. But David did not retreat. His eyes saw neither armor nor size. His eyes saw the injustice against the Holy One of Israel. You come to me with sword, spear, and shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. To you alone the heavens stood still. Even the angels were silent, and the stone flew. With a brief whistle, a dry strike, Goliath fell, like a proud, rotting tree. He fell face down to the earth. Ancient terror fell before faith. David ran to him, took his sword, and with one blow cut off his head. The earth trembled. The armies of the Philistines fled in panic. The fear that men once held for giants now turned against the giants themselves. But this was not the end. It was only the beginning of the final hunt. David would become king, a shepherd crowned with virtue. And under his reign, the last generation, giants would fall. The first came Ishbi-Benob, who tried to kill David in battle. He bore a spear weighing 300 bronze shekels, but was struck down by Abishai, son of Zeruiah. Then came Saph, another of the Rephaim lineage. He was slain by Sibbecai the Hushathite in another battle. Then Lami, brother of Goliath of Gath, who wielded a spear like a weaver's beam. He was defeated by Elhanan, son of Jair. Finally, an unknown giant who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in all. A monster in the eyes of men, yet he fell like the others. David was no longer a boy of the valley, but faith still led him. Wherever he went, the race of giants fell as if the very sky would close its cycle begun in the days of Noah. The warriors who struck down the last Rephaim were not titans nor sons of angels. They were ordinary men. Yet each bore something that the giants never knew: the presence of the living God. And so stone by stone, sword after sword, the profane line of the Nephilim shattered after the flood was destroyed. The cities of giants crumbled. Their names became warnings. Their deeds became a greater warning still. And their soul spirits without bodies wandered on, already defeated, awaiting the final judgment alone. And in the hearts of the faithful resounded the certainty: there is no power that conquers giants. There is only faith.